There are two types of people in this world: those who believe a man's backyard is his castle, and those who believe it's a shared space, subject to committee approval. The second type of person is named Brenda. And Brenda, president of the Arbor Meadows Homeowners Association, was the final boss of suburban conformity. She was the kind of person who would measure your lawn with a ruler, and I'm not even kidding. I saw her do it to my neighbor Gary last week. Me? I'm Mark. I'm a work-from-home IT consultant, which is a fancy way of saying I sit in my pajamas and tell people to try turning it off and on again. My backyard isn't just a backyard. It's my sanctuary. It's my escape from the endless code, the flickering cursors, and the clients who think the cloud is an actual physical vapor. And in the center of that sanctuary was my masterpiece. Not the patchy grass, God no, but the 500-gallon kidney bean-shaped koi pond I had dug and built with my own 2 hands. I had mixed the concrete. I had laid the liner. I had spent months balancing the pH, optimizing the filter, and cultivating the perfect water lily to open water ratio. It was my zen. My wife Sarah called it your midlife crisis, but with more algae. You spending more time with those fish than with me? Sarah asked, leaning against the sliding glass door with her morning coffee. I was on my knees, hands deep in the filter box, scrubbing a sponge. Honey, Big Dave is stressed, I said, gesturing to the largest, most majestic orange koi in the pond. He needs me. His color looks a little muted. Besides, they don't ask me to take out the trash. Big Dave is a fish, Mark. He has a brain the size of a pea. He's not stressed. He's just swimming. That's what you think. He's got responsibilities. He has to keep Agent Orange and the Glimmer Twins in line. It's a whole ecosystem. Uh-huh. Well, this ecosystem runs on caffeine. Want another cup? In a minute. A shout came from the fence to my left. Hey, Mark! She's on the prowl! I froze, my hand still gripping the filter sponge. It was Gary. He was perpetually on his back porch, wearing a bathrobe and drinking a beer, regardless of the time of day. He was our neighborhood's early warning system. Who? I hissed, ducking behind my Japanese maple, even though it was about as wide as a broom handle. Who do you think? She's got the clipboard. My blood ran cold. The clipboard. The official, laminated harbinger of doom. Crap. Code red. Is my recycling bin visible from the street? Worse, she's heading down the access path behind the houses. She's in full-on inspection mode. Godspeed, buddy. I heard the click, click, click of sensible shoes on the gravel path that ran behind our properties. I peeked through the slats in my fence. There she was. Brenda. Khaki pants, a beige polo shirt with the Arbor Meadows logo, and a visor pulled so low it looked like it was trying to escape her face. She stopped right behind my fence line, pulled out a pair of binoculars, and peered over the fence, directly at my pond. Her nose wrinkled, as if she'd just smelled a dead possum. She made a note on her clipboard. A very long, angry-looking note. What's she doing? Sarah whispered, now at my side. She's evaluating, I whispered back. She's evaluating my zen. This is an act of war, Sarah. Oh, stop. She's just a lonely, bored woman. She'll write you a note about, I don't know, unapproved moss, and we'll ignore it. Come on, I'll make you breakfast. I let Sarah pull me inside, but I couldn't shake the feeling. You don't just look at another man's koi pond through binoculars and not mean business. 3 days passed. The dread faded, replaced by the normal routine of work and Big Dave's feeding schedule. I'd convinced myself Sarah was right. It was just a weird, nosy neighbor moment. Then I checked the mail. It was there. tucked between a coupon booklet and a bill from the power company. The beige envelope. It was the exact same color as Brenda's pants, the color of joylessness, the color of institutional apathy. I opened it, my thumb shaking slightly. My face must have gone as white as a freshly bleached t-shirt, because Sarah looked up from her laptop at the kitchen table. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Did Big Dave finally clog the filter for good?" I couldn't speak. I just handed her the letter. "Dear Mr. Henderson," she read aloud, her voice light at first, then growing sharper with every word. "It has come to the attention of the board that an unapproved backyard feature has been installed on your property. Failure to file architectural change request 37B. All water features, permanent or otherwise, must be pre-approved. You are in violation of Bylaw 1420C, Section 8. She looked up at me, her eyes wide. Violation? What? I took the letter back and read the last fatal sentence. Whom the feature requires immediate removal within 14 days. Removal! Sarah shrieked, snatching the letter back. They can't be serious. You built that 3 years ago. She was at our barbecue last summer. She saw it. She wasn't president then, I said, my voice hollow. She was just Brenda from accounting. Now she has power and a clipboard. This is insane. And look at this. Failure to comply will result in daily fines of $100, signed Brenda. That witch. She never even saw it up close until the other day, I seethed, pacing the kitchen. She must have used her spinoculars. This is a targeted assassination, Sarah. I grabbed my phone. I'm calling. This is a mistake. This is harassment. I found the number for the HOA management company. I was immediately put on hold, subjected to a tinny, instrumental version of "Don't worry, be happy," which felt like a personal attack. After 5 minutes, a voice picked up. Arbor Meadows Management, this is Cheryl. How can I provide a beige-tastic day for you? I was 90% sure she actually said that. Hi, Cheryl. I just got a violation notice, and it's a huge mistake. My name is Mark Henderson. The violation is for my koi pond, which has been here for 3 years. There was a sound of aggressive typing. Ah, yes, 122 Arbor Lane. Violation 4B. Unapproved water feature. Right. Like I said, it's been here for 3 years. It was here when I painted my shutters forest green, which you did approve. I just assumed it was grandfathered in or, I don't know, not a problem. Sir, Cheryl said, her voice dripping with the boredom of 1,000 such calls. All disputes must be presented in person at the next board meeting. Fine. Great. When is it? Next Tuesday, 7 p.m., Community Center, in the Sycamore Room. You'll need to sign in by 6:45 p.m. if you wish to speak. I'll be there, I said, grinding my teeth. This is ridiculous. That is your opinion, sir. It has been noted in your file. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Click. I stared at the phone. Well? Sarah asked. We're going to war, I said, grabbing my car keys. I'm going to Home Depot. Why? I need to buy a binder. If I'm going to fight the HOA, I need to look the part. The Sycamore Room at the community center smelled of weak coffee, industrial-grade carpet cleaner, and crushed dreams. It was a windowless box of beige, illuminated by fluorescent lights that made everyone look like they were recovering from a long-term illness. I was ready. I had my binder. It was a 2-inch D-ring, heavy-duty monstrosity from Office Max. Inside, I had photos of the pond from every angle, a timeline of its construction, receipts for the liner and pump to prove its age, and even a printout of an article from Better Homes and Gardens titled How Water Features Can Increase Property Values. I was not messing around. Sarah was with me for moral support. Gary had also come, but he'd stated up front he was only here for the free donuts. We sat in the back row of folding chairs. At the front, at a long folding table, sat the board. 4 of them looked like hostages, just nodding along, desperate to get home to their reruns of NCIS. And then there was Brenda. She sat in the center, a gavel in front of her, looking like a vampire who had just smelled a paper cut. She ruled the room with an iron fist and a voice that could curdle milk. "The meeting of the Arbor Meadows HOA is now in session," she said, banging the gavel. "First order of business, the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor?" A few mumbled, "Ayes." Motion passes. I checked my watch. 7:05 p.m. We were already 45 minutes behind, and we'd only just started. We had to sit through a 30-minute presentation on unapproved mailbox colors. Apparently, Jim Peterson at 414 Evergreen Terrace had painted his mailbox desert sand when the approved color was Sahara beige. The horror. Jim, a man who looked like he'd been through a war, just sat there and took it. "Yes, Brenda. I'll repaint it, Brenda." Then, a heated 10-minute debate on whether seasonal lawn gnomes constituted a permanent fixture, if left out past January 1st. I was vibrating with rage and boredom. My binder felt heavy on my lap. Finally, after an hour, Brenda looked at her agenda. "New business, clicker violation 4B, 122 Arbor Lane. Mr. Mark Henderson." "That's me," I said, standing up, binder in hand. "Mr. Henderson, the board has received your dispute. You are here to appeal the violation notice regarding your unapproved pond." She said the word pond like it was a new strain of bacteria. I walked to the front, feeling like I was defending my PhD thesis. I opened my binder. "Brenda, board members, thank you. My name is Mark Henderson. Yes, I have a koi pond, but to call it an unapproved feature is a little misleading, seeing as it's been a peaceful, quiet, and beautiful part of my property for over 3 years. I passed out the photos. The board members, except Brenda, actually looked impressed. "See? Beautiful," I said, pointing to a photo of Big Dave catching the morning light. "It adds to the property value. It's a self-contained ecosystem. The pump is silent. It's not a nuisance. My neighbors love it." I gestured to the back of the room. Gary, his mouth full of a Boston cream, gave a vigorous, crumb-covered thumbs up. "It's awesome," he mumbled. I pressed on. "I was never notified of any issue. I've been a homeowner here for 7 years. I've always followed the rules. I painted my shutters an approved color. I hide my trash cans. This just seems like a misunderstanding." I smiled, trying to be the reasonable neighbor. I closed my binder. "So, I'm just asking that the board grandfather the pond in, and we can all move on." There was a silence. One of the board members, a woman named Marge, smiled at me. "I think it's just lovely, Mark." Brenda shot Marge a look that could freeze fire. "Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Henderson," Brenda said, her voice a flat, dead thing. "However, the bylaws are clear." She opened her own binder, which was easily twice as thick as mine, and was, I noted with horror, color-coded with tabs. Bylaw 1420, Section 8. All alterations to the exterior landscape, including but not limited to patios, sheds, and water features, require the submission of Form 37B, the Water Feature and Landscape Modification Request, prior to the commencement of work. "But Brenda," I said, That was 3 years ago. I didn't know about Form 37B. No one said anything. Ignorance is not an exemption, she snapped. If we grandfathered you in, Mr. Henderson, what's next? What if Mr. Peterson wants to grandfather in his desert sand mailbox? What if Mrs. Davis wants to grandfather in her New Year's gnome? It's a slippery slope. It's chaos. Brenda, with all due respect, we're talking about a fish pond, not an unlicensed nuclear reactor. The bylaws are the only thing protecting us from that, she said, gesturing vaguely at the world outside the Sycamore room. The board has already reviewed the file. Wait, reviewed? You were just hearing my appeal. We reviewed the violation, she said. Your appeal has been heard. Now we vote. All in favor of upholding the violation and fine schedule for 122 Arbor Lane? Brenda's hand shot up. 2 of the hostage board members, eyes fixed on the table, slowly raised their hands. Marge kept her hands clasped. Gary booed from the back. Motion passes 3-1, Brenda said with a sickeningly triumphant smile. Mr. Henderson, you have 10 days left on your 14-day notice. That's until next Friday. The violation must be remedied. Remedied? What does that mean? It means, Brenda said, enjoying this far too much, that the water feature must be removed, drained, and filled. Filled? I sputtered. Filled with what? My hopes and dreams? The souls of the damned? Brenda didn't miss a beat. Soil is traditional. The board's decision is final. Next on the agenda, the holiday decoration illumination schedule. I stood there, binder hanging uselessly at my side. I was stunned. Sarah had to come up and gently pull me by the elbow. Come on, Mark, let's go. We walked out of the Sycamore room, the drone of Brenda's voice following us down the hall. We got into the car and sat in the dark, silent parking lot. I slammed my fist onto the dashboard. Ah! I know, Sarah said softly, rubbing my shoulder. She's a monster. She had that speech prepared. She knew she was going to deny me before I even opened my binder. Soil is traditional. What is this, 1850? Are we planting potatoes? So, what do we do? Sarah asked. We could get a lawyer. And spend $10,000 to fight a $100 a day fine? Honey, we can't afford that. That's how they get you. They fine you to death with lawyers. She's got us. She won. So that's it? Sarah's voice was quiet. You're just going to fill it in? I slumped in my seat, the reality crashing down. It wasn't just the pond. It was Big Dave, Agent Orange, the Glimmer Twins. What about the fish? I whispered. What am I supposed to do with the fish? Flush them? Just fill in on top of them? No, Sarah said, horrified. Of course not. We'll call that Aquatic Center in the city. The one with the big shark tank. Maybe they can rehome them. Maybe Big Dave can have a better life. A better life? I said, my voice cracking. His life was perfect. He was the king of his own 500-gallon castle. Now he's being evicted. By Brenda. I started the car, the feeling of defeat as bitter and cold as the air conditioning. It wasn't about the pond anymore. It was about the principle. And the principle, it seemed, was about to be buried under 2 tons of traditional soil. The following Saturday was Operation Koi Venger, as I'd grimly dubbed it. It was, without a doubt, one of the worst days of my life. I had called the Aquatic Center. They agreed to take the fish, saying they had a large Asian-themed decorative pond in their main lobby. I tried to feel good about it. Big Dave was going to the big leagues. But first, we had to catch them. If you've never tried to catch a large, powerful, and now extremely suspicious fish in its home environment. I don't recommend it. It's like trying to grab a wet bar of soap that's actively trying to escape you and also weighs 5 pounds. I was in the pond, wearing my grubbiest jeans, calf-deep in cold water. Sarah was on the edge with a large 10-gallon bucket. Gary, naturally, was supervising from his porch, just drinking a Coors Light. You're hurting them all wrong, man," Gary called out, pointing. "You gotta anticipate their move." "Shut up, Gary," I yelled, as Agent Orange, a sleek white and gold fish, shot between my legs, splashing my face with pond water. "Get over here and help." "Whoa, no way, I'm not getting in there. That water's fishy." "It's a pond, you moron. It's supposed to be fishy." "Mark, honey, language," Sarah said, though she was smiling. "Focus. You've got him cornered." I lunged with the net, a huge splash. I came up, sputtering. The net was empty. Big Dave was now on the other side of the pond, staring at me with what I could only describe as profound, judgmental disappointment. "He's laughing at me, Sarah." "He's not laughing, Mark. He's a fish. He's bubbling. It's a new technique, Operation Clog the Filter. I'm draining it." I went to the filter and flipped the switch from recirculate to drain. The pump whirred, and a hose I'd laid out to the side street started gushing water. As the water level dropped, the game changed. The fish, sensing their doom, got frantic. I finally managed to net Agent Orange. "Gotcha! Okay, Agent Orange is secure." I transferred him to the transport tub, a massive 50-gallon Rubbermaid I'd bought for this express purpose. Next, the Glimmer twins. They were smaller, easier. But Big Dave? Big Dave was smart. The water was down to about 6 inches. He was thrashing, a big, beautiful orange and white beacon of defiance. "I'm sorry, buddy," I said, approaching him slowly with the net. "I'm so sorry." I netted him. He was heavy. He flopped once, wildly, and launched himself out of the net, over the edge of the pond, and onto the grass. "Big Dave is making a break for it," Gary screamed. "Don't just yell, do something!" Sarah shrieked. I scrambled out of the pond, covered in mud and algae, and dove for the fish, tackling him on the lawn like a football. I got my hands around his slippery, muscular body. He was surprisingly strong. "I've got him! I've got him!" I cradled him to my chest, and half ran, half slid to the transport tub, depositing him gently. He immediately swam to the bottom and sulked. I stood there, dripping, breathing heavily. "This is just wrong," I said to Sarah. "They're refugees, pond refugees, all because of Brenda." "I know, honey," she said, putting a hand on my slimy shoulder. "But they're going to a good home, a bigger home, with other fish. It's fine." We loaded the tub into the back of Sarah's SUV. I gave the pond one last, sad look. It was just a concrete hole, smeared with mud. "Well," Gary said, cracking another beer. "End of an era, man." "Yeah," I said. "End of an era." The drive to the aquatic center was silent, except for the sloshing. We dropped off the fish. The aquarium tech was thrilled. "Wow, he's a beauty," he said, looking at Big Dave. "He'll be the king of the lobby pond in no time." I didn't say goodbye. It was too hard. That evening, the pond was just a void. A sad, empty, concrete hole in the ground. An ugly gray scar in my beautiful yard. The deadline was Friday. I had 5 days to remedy it. I sat on the edge of the pit, drinking a beer. Sarah came out and sat next to me. "Hey," she said softly. "How you holding up?" "I'm staring into the abyss," I said, my voice echoing slightly off the concrete. "And the abyss is damp, and it smells faintly of fish poop." "Charming," she sighed. "Look, I know it sucks. I'm mad too. She's a power-tripping nightmare, but maybe it's not the end of the world. We can, I don't know, plant a nice rose bush? Or maybe a lemon tree?" "A rose bush," I said, tasting the words. "Brenda wants me to fill it with soil." "Soil is traditional. Then I plant a rose bush, and she wins." "Mark, it's not about winning or losing." "It is absolutely about winning or losing now, Sarah. She took my fish." I stewed. I drank my beer. I stared into the gray hole. Sarah rubbed my back. "What's that look?" she asked after a long silence. "I know that look. That's your, I just figured out the Wi-Fi password after an hour look." I slowly pulled out my phone. "Sarah, pull up the letter. Read the violation. What bylaw did I violate?" She pulled it up on her phone. "Bylaw 1420, Section 8. "Right. Now, can you go to the HOA website and find the text of Bylaw 14C? "Mark, what are you doing? This is obsessive." "Humor me." Fine, she typed. "Okay, Section 14, Landscaping and Features, 14C, Water Features. Okay, it's any installation, basin, or structure designed to contain standing or circulating water in excess of 24 inches in depth. Must be, blah blah blah, pre-approved. It's all about pumps, drainage, safety fences, and liability." I looked at her. A slow Cheshire cat grin was spreading across my face. "Mark, what?" She said, "Remove the water feature. The bylaw she cited, it's all about water." "Yes," Sarah said, drawing the word out. "And she said I have to fill the structure. She said soil is traditional, but she didn't say it was mandatory." "Mark, what are you thinking?" I turned my phone screen to her. I had a Google search open. "I'm Googling," I said, my voice full of a newfound righteous purpose. "Commercial ball pit supplies." Sarah stared at the screen. Her eyes went wide. A single, sharp laugh escaped her. "Oh, no." "Oh, yes," I said, the grin widening. "If it doesn't have water, it's not a water feature. It's not a violation of 1420C. It's just a feature. A feature filled with plastic balls." "Precisely. It's a dry water feature. It's a sensory installation. It's pop art. It's a statement." Sarah looked from my face to the empty pond to the phone. She was quiet for a full 10 seconds. Then a slow, beautiful smile spread across her face. "Mark Henderson, that is the stupidest, most brilliant, most childish. I love it." You do?" "I've never been more attracted to you. How many do we need?" I did a quick calculation. "My pond is 500 gallons. That's about 67 cubic feet. At, let's say, 300 balls per cubic foot, I need about 20,000 balls." Sarah's smile faltered. 20,000? "Go big or go home, baby. Brenda wants this hole filled. We're going to fill it." The first problem with Operation Dry Water Feature was logistical. It turns out that 20,000 commercial-grade ball pit balls are not something you can just pick up at Target. I spent Monday morning on the phone. "Hi, yes, I'm calling from Henderson Sensory Solutions. I need a quote. How much for, let's see, 20,000 balls? Multicolor, crush-proof preferred. This is for a high-traffic installation. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. The guy's name was Chuck at Wholesale Party and Fun, LLC. Is this for a school? Chuck asked, his voice gravelly. Or like one of those burger places? It's a private, residential sensory installation, I said, trying to sound as professional as possible. It's very avant-garde. A sensory installation. Right. You want the 2.5-inch or the 3-inch? Which one gives me more sensory? Look, sir, our 3-inch jumbo balls are, I don't know, jumbo ear. You need about 20,000? That's 40 cases. It's going to be on a pallet. You'll need a freight truck. You got a loading dock? I have a driveway, I said. And a wheelbarrow. Can you get it here by Thursday? It'll cost you extra for Rush residential liftgate service. But, yeah, for that price, I'll drive him there myself. You got a credit card, Mr. Sensory? I gave him the number. Sarah just shook her head, but she was smiling. The rebellion was on. The second problem was us. The freight truck arrived on Thursday morning. The driver, a guy who looked like he'd seen it all, used a pallet jack to drop a single, massive, shrink-wrapped cube of cardboard at the end of my driveway. It was the size of a smart car. Gary, of course, was on his porch. Hey, Mark, you order a new fridge? It's my masterpiece, Gary. Just wait. Sarah and I stared at the cube. Well, she said. Let's get to it. I cut the shrink wrap. The 40 boxes inside were now just a pile. I grabbed one, slit the tape, and tipped it over. A glorious, multicolored cascade of plastic balls spilled onto the driveway. It's beautiful, I said. Then the wind blew. A single red ball, caught by the breeze, started to roll, then bounce down the driveway into the street. Get it! Sarah yelled. I chased it. I caught it. I came back. 3 more, a blue, a yellow, a green, had made their own escape. This is impossible, I said 30 minutes later. We had managed to empty 5 boxes, and we were already exhausted. Balls were everywhere. A gust of wind would send a dozen of them scattering across the lawn. We were trying to move them in batches using the wheelbarrow, which was like trying to transport 100 ping-pong balls on a unicycle. Okay, Sarah said, wiping sweat from her forehead as she corralled a green ball with her foot. New plan. We're not sensory solution experts. We're homeowners. We need labor. We need contractors, I said, realizing she was right. I pulled up a local move haul landscaping service on my phone. 2 guys and a shovel. Perfect. Hi, I've got a landscaping job. I need a hole filled. Yes, sir, the guy on the phone said. What kind of a fill? Topsoil? Gravel? It's other. It's pre-packaged. It's on my driveway. I need it moved from the driveway to a hole in my backyard. How much? 2 guys, $200 an hour. 2-hour minimum. We can be there in 45. Deal. 45 minutes later, a beat-up green truck pulled up. 2 guys, big guys, got out. They wore T-shirts with the sleeves ripped off and 2 guys written on them in Sharpie. One was Vince. The other was Sal. All right, Vince said, spitting. He was clearly the boss. Where's this hole? And what's the fill? Concrete? Dirt? It's this way, I said, leading them through the side gate. They saw the mountain of boxes on my driveway. They saw the empty concrete pond. They looked at each other. Okay, Vince said slowly. You called, About fill. Yes, I said. This is the fill. I pointed to the boxes. And that's the hole. Vince and Sal looked at the boxes. They looked at the pond. They looked at me. Vince walked over, picked up a stray blue ball, and inspected it. You, Sal started, but couldn't finish. You want us to pour these, Vince said, pointing to the boxes. Into that, he finished, pointing to the pond. Yes, exactly. It's a dry water feature. It's art, conceptual. Vince stared at me for a solid 10 seconds. I could see him calculating if I was crazy or if this was a prank. He looked at Sal. Sal just shrugged, a beautiful, perfect a job's a job shrug. Vince turned back to me. It's $200 an hour, 2-hour minimum. I know, I said. I have cash. Vince nodded. All right, Sal. Get the box cutters and the shovels. For the next hour and a half, I sat on my porch with Sarah, drinking lemonade, and watched the most glorious, surrealist art performance of my life. Vince and Sal, two of the toughest-looking men I'd ever seen, systematically and professionally landscaped my pond with plastic balls. They'd cut a box, dump its contents into a wheelbarrow, wheel it to the pond, and dump it. At first, it was a trickle, but then they got a rhythm going. The sound was incredible. A plastic hiss, click, clack, as thousands of balls tumbled over each other, a neon river of red, blue, green, and yellow flowing into the gray concrete void. Gary, drawn by the noise, appeared on his porch. His jaw dropped. He didn't speak. He just stared. Then he slowly, reverently, took off his baseball cap. It's glorious, he finally roared, raising his beer can. It's a rainbow puddle. You did it, you crazy son of a bakak. You did it. I just waved. Vince and Sal were covered in sweat. They were now using the backs of their shovels to push the rising tide of balls into the corners. Finally, the last box was empty. The pond was full. To the brim. A magnificent, shimmering 500-gallon, 20,000-ball monument to spite. I was wiping a tear. It's perfect. Vince and Sal walked over, completely deadpan. All right, Vince said, wiping his hands on his jeans. We're, done. It's amazing, I said, walking over to it. I reached in and ran my hand through the balls. They made a wonderful swooshing sound. You want us to rake it? Vince asked, gesturing with his shovel. Level it off? No, Vince, I said. It's perfect. Don't touch a single ball. Sal, who hadn't said a word the whole time, walked to the edge. Hey, boss, you mind if I… Before I could answer, he stepped off the edge and waded into the pond. He was waist-deep in plastic. A huge grin broke out on his face. Heh, Sal said, picking up a yellow ball and tossing it. Neat. Okay, Sal, get out, Vince grunted. We're on the clock. Sal waded out, balls cascading off him. That'll be $300, Vince said. Hour and a half. Best $300 I've ever spent, I said, handing him the cash. You guys are artists. Vince just shook his head. I've filled holes with dirt, concrete, and one time a dead horse. But this is a new one. Good luck, man. They got in their truck and drove off. I stood there, with Sarah. We just looked at it. It's so much more than I imagined, Sarah said. Isn't it? We had 1 day to spare. The deadline was tomorrow, Friday. I grabbed a lawn chair, a beer, and sat on my patio. "What are you doing now?" Sarah asked. "I'm waiting," I said, taking a sip. "I'm waiting for the dawn patrol." I sat on my porch with a fresh coffee, waiting. Friday morning, 8:00 a.m., prime patrol time. I gave it 20 minutes. It only took 10. Like clockwork, I saw her. The beige polo, the visor, the clipboard of justice. Brenda. She was on her morning walk, scanning the neighborhood for infractions. She walked past my house. She glanced. She did a full, cartoonish, head-snapping double-take. She stopped. Dead. Her mouth opened. It closed. It opened again. Her clipboard slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the sidewalk. She didn't even notice. I gave her a friendly wave. "Morning, Brenda," I called out, my voice cheerful. "Beautiful day, isn't it? Great day for a remedy." She could only sputter. What is that?" I stood up and walked to the edge of my lawn, coffee cup in hand. "Oh, that? It's my new dry water feature. Isn't it lovely? I took your advice." "My advice?" she hissed, her face, which was usually beige, starting to turn a fascinating shade of mottled purple. "Yes, I was so worried about the neighborhood kids. You know, the danger of an open pond, the liability as per 14.c. This is so much safer. It's bright, it's cheerful, and it's fully compliant." Compliant?" she stammered, finally finding her voice. That is an abomination." "Whoa now, Brenda," I said, feigning hurt. "That's subjective. I think it's very pop art, very Warhol meets suburbia. And most importantly," I held up a finger, "there's no water, no pump, no filter, no violation of bylaw 14.c whatsoever. I removed the water feature, and I filled the structure, just like you asked." You... She was vibrating. I was genuinely worried she might have an aneurysm. "You are mocking me. You are mocking the board. You are mocking the bylaws." "Brenda, I would never mock the bylaws. I read the bylaws. I revere the bylaws. And the bylaws are silent on the issue of filling material. Soil is traditional, you said. You didn't say mandatory. This is my landscaping choice. It's plastic-scape. It's the new thing." She pointed a trembling finger at me. You will be hearing from I'm calling the police." I almost dropped my coffee. "The police? What for? Excessive primary colors?" "It's a public nuisance," she shrieked, whipping out her phone. It's tacky." "You do that, Brenda. You call them. Tell them I have an unauthorized art situation in my backyard. I'm sure they'll send the SWAT team right over." I went back to my chair, sat down, and took a long, slow sip of my coffee as Brenda screamed into her phone. "Yes, 122 Arbor Lane. He filled his yard with, I don't know, plastics. It's a hazard. Send someone immediately." 30 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. Not one, but 2 officers. Officer Miller and Officer Chen. Miller looked like he was 2 years out of the academy, all spit-shine and eagerness. Chen looked like she had been on the force for 30 years and had seen every stupid thing humanity had to offer. Brenda, who had been pacing on the sidewalk, practically leaped at them. "Officers, thank God! This man," she pointed at me, "this man! Look at it! Just look! I don't even know! It's attracting colors! It's a pit! An illegal pit!" Officer Miller looked at Brenda, then at me. I was just sitting there, drinking coffee. "Sir, we got a call about a disturbance? Ma'am said something about an illegal pit?" "No disturbance here, officer," I said, standing up. "Just enjoying my new landscaping. Would you like to see?" "Please," Miller said, all business. I led them through the side gate. Brenda followed, muttering, "You'll see. It's a menace. A clear violation." They stepped into the backyard. And they saw it. Officer Miller stopped. He just stopped. He looked at the ball pit. He looked at Officer Chen. He looked back at the ball pit. Officer Chen's mouth twitched. Just once. She brought her hand up and covered it with a cough that sounded suspiciously like a laugh, and... "Sir," Miller said, clearing his throat, desperately trying to be professional. "What exactly is this?" "It's my dry water feature, officer. You like it? It's new." "It's colorful," Miller offered. Chen, the veteran, stepped forward, notepad in hand, her face a perfect mask of neutrality. "So, sir, let me get this straight. This feature, it has no water?" "Correct, ma'am. Bone dry." "No illegal animals? No gators or anything?" "Nope. Just 20,000 crush-proof, non-toxic, 3-inch jumbo plastic balls." "And it doesn't make any noise?" "Only if you jump in it," I said. "And it's a delightful noise, I promise." "It's a nuisance!" Brenda shrieked from the fence. "It's tacky. It's unsuburban. It's against the bylaws." Officer Chen turned to Brenda with an expression of infinite, weary patience. "Ma'am, I'm not seeing a crime here." "But the bylaws," Brenda sputtered. "Ma'am, the bylaws of your homeowners association are a civil matter. They are not a criminal matter. We enforce the city and state penal code. We do not enforce your association's rules about color." But, as far as I can see," Chen continued, "this man has a thing in his yard. It's not a public health hazard. It's not a noise violation. It's not anything, really. It's just there." "Is it art, sir?" Miller asked, genuinely curious. "It's malicious compliance, officer," I said with a smile. "The HOA told me to remove my koi pond. I complied. They told me to fill the structure. I complied. This is just a creative landscaping choice." Chen snapped her notebook shut. The twitch was back. "All right, ma'am. We're done here. There is no police matter." "This is an outrage," Brenda fumed. "Sir," Chen said, nodding to me, "have a nice day." She paused, looking at the pit one more time. "And try to keep the balls in your yard." "Yes, ma'am. Will do." I watched them walk away. As they were about to round the corner, I saw Officer Miller turn to Officer Chen. His shoulders were shaking. He was laughing. He was definitely laughing. I'd call that a win. Brenda just stood on the sidewalk, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. She looked at me. She looked at the pond. "This," she said, her voice a low, dangerous hiss, "is not over." She stomped off, her sensible shoes hitting the pavement with angry, defeated thwacks. I went back to my chair. The coffee was cold, but my heart was warm. The police incident was just the beginning. Brenda, having lost the battle of public nuisance, pivoted to a full-on war of bureaucratic attrition. The letters started again, but now they were creative. The first beige envelope arrived Monday. "Dear Mr. Henderson, you are in violation of Bylaw 21A aesthetic nuisance. The installation is not in keeping with the natural and harmonious character of Arbor Meadows. Fine. $50 per day. The next day, another one. Violation. Bylaw 18.f. Unnatural landscaping. All landscaping materials must consist of living organic matter or approved hardscape, stone, some brick, etc. Plastic is not an approved hardscape. Fine, $50 per day. Brenda was just making things up now. Aesthetic nuisance? Unnatural landscaping? What was I supposed to use? Natural plastic? I, in turn, wrote her back. Dear Brenda, I dispute these violations. My feature is harmonious. It contains all the colors of a natural rainbow. Furthermore, plastic is a hardscape. It's just a very, very light one. See you at the next meeting. Cordially, Mark. The neighborhood, meanwhile, was divided. The older residents, Brenda's beige brigade, would walk past my house and tut-tut disapprovingly. But the families, the people with kids, they loved me. I became a local folk hero. I'd be out watering my traditional flowers, and a kid would bike by. Awesome pit, Mr. H. Can we swim in the ball pond? A group of 10-year-olds asked me, their faces pressed to the fence. Not today, kids. Private installation. Gary was having the time of his life. You've broken her, man. I saw her at the community mailbox, just staring at a hedge. Not even a non-compliant hedge. Just a hedge. You broke her brain. But I knew I hadn't. Brenda was regrouping. And then the email went out to the entire HOA. Subject, emergency board meeting. Tuesday, 7 p.m., forced removal of nuisance property. The email went on to state that the board had held an emergency vote, which I'm sure was just Brenda and her 2 hostage friends, to declare the dry water feature a hazard and would be voting on its immediate forced removal at the homeowner's expense. This is it, Sarah said, reading it over my shoulder. She's going for the kill. She can't do that, I said. She can't just vote to take my stuff. That's theft. It's the HOA, Mark. They live in a different legal universe. Tuesday came, the day of the meeting. But I didn't go. I had a different plan. Instead, I sat on my porch. And I waited. At 3 p.m., a huge landscaping truck from Arbor Green, Brenda's preferred landscaping company, pulled up to my curb. Not to her house, to my house. Brenda was with them, clipboard in hand. She marched up my driveway. Mr. Henderson, she shouted. Brenda, I said, not getting up. You're trespassing. The board has voted. This feature is a hazard. The plastic fumes are hazardous. It's being removed at your expense. Plastic fumes? I said. It's non-toxic polyethylene. You get more fumes from your cheap hairspray. You're not touching my property. We have an emergency injunction, she declared. No, you don't, I said, finally standing up. This, I knew, was her final move. The shock and awe attack. I checked with the county clerk this morning. You've filed nothing. You've got no injunction, no court order, no right. I turned to the 2 landscaping guys who were nervously holding what looked like giant industrial vacuums. Guys, I said calmly, just so we're clear, I'm not paying for this. She is. And I will be suing her for damages and your company for trespassing and destruction of property, just so we're all on the same page. The workers looked at each other. They looked at Brenda. Remove it, Brenda shrieked. That's an order from the board. Get off my lawn, Brenda. It was a standoff. A suburban western. Me, Brenda, and two guys with giant ball-sucking vacuums. And that's when my own truck pulled up. It wasn't a landscaping truck. It was a white van with a big logo on the side. Channel 8 News, on your side. A reporter, a sharp-looking woman in a blue dress named Anna, and a cameraman with a massive rig on his shoulder hopped out. Brenda froze. "Hi," Anna said, microphone in hand. "Are you Brenda, from the HOA? We got a tip from a concerned local resident about an HOA gone rogue? Something about plastic balls?" She winked at me. On his porch, Gary gave me a silent, reverent thumbs up. He'd made the call, just like we planned. Brenda's face went from purple to a color I can only describe as panicked white. "What? No, we are simply enforcing community standards," Brenda stammered, trying to hide her clipboard behind her back. The camera swung to me. "And you, sir? You must be Mark Henderson," Anna said, turning the mic my way. "You're the owner of the dry water feature?" "I am," I said, trying to look as reasonable homeowner as possible. "I'm just a guy who loved his koi pond, and when the HOA forced me to remove it, I complied. They told me to fill the hole, so I did. I decided to fill the hole in my yard with the next best thing: 20,000 plastic balls of joy." The camera panned lovingly over the glorious, shimmering, multicolored pit. "So, ma'am," Anna said, turning back to Brenda, the camera zooming in on her horrified face. "Just to be clear, you told this man to fill a pond, and now you're mad about how he filled it? And you've hired this crew," she gestured to the guys with the vacuums, "to forcibly remove his private property?" Brenda was trapped. The camera light was on. Her power was useless against publicity. It's tacky," she finally shrieked, her last desperate defense. "It's against the spirit of the rules." "So, you are trying to remove it?" Anna pressed. Brenda, completely unhinged, realizing she was being broadcast, did the one thing she should not have done. She lunged for the camera. "Turn that off! You can't! This is a private matter!" The cameraman, a pro, just sidestepped her. She stumbled, her visor askew, looking like a wild animal. The landscaping guys had seen enough. This was not in their pay grade. They started packing up their hoses. We're gonna go, Brenda," their foreman said, already halfway back to the truck. "You call us when you get, court order or something." They bailed. They peeled out. Brenda was left on my driveway, alone, with a news camera in her face, her reputation in tatters. The story ran on the 6 p.m. news and the 10 p.m. news. The title: Homeowner Battles Beige Brigade HOA with 20,000 balls. They had footage of the beautiful pit. They had me, the calm, reasonable homeowner. They had Gary, who gave a tearful interview about how Mark's a visionary and Brenda hates joy. And they had Brenda lunging at the camera, shrieking, "It's tacky!" It was a massacre. My phone blew up. The story went viral. It was on one of those national morning shows. The Arbor Meadows HOA National Board got involved. They were displeased. Brenda was encouraged to step down as president, effective immediately. The fines were dropped. All of them. The dry water feature was, for all intents and purposes, now a fully approved, grandfathered-in landscape installation. The final scene. It's a week later, a beautiful Saturday. I'm on my patio with Sarah. We're sitting on the edge of the pit, our feet dipped into the balls, drinking beer. "So," Sarah said, wiggling her toes, making the balls swoosh, "what are we really going to do with it?" "I don't know," I said, taking a sip. "I kind of like it." Gary came over, a towel around his neck, wearing swim trunks. "You're a legend, man," he said. "A suburban legend. My kids think you're Batman. So, can I jump in?" I looked at Sarah. She smiled. "Be my guest, Gary," I said. "Be my guest." Gary took a running leap from the patio, yelled, "For Big Dave!" and cannonballed into the pit. He vanished. Completely. For a second, I was worried. Then his head emerged, like a groundhog, a blue ball balanced on his head. He was laughing. Hysterically. I took a sip of my beer and looked at my new sanctuary. Brenda wanted my pond. She wanted soil. She wanted conformity. Instead, she got a neighborhood hero, a viral news story, and a permanent, glorious, neon-colored monument to a very simple idea. Don't mess with a man's fish. And especially, don't mess with his balls.